Wait, what does this
Yo,
sound
what's
like?
up,
Hold on.
everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about the SV DOU 2025 survey, which is literally the same as the last survey, I think. But yeah. Anyways, okay, what is your Smogon username? Mr. Nick. Okay. How much do you enjoy playing SV DOU right now? Alright, chat, what is our thoughts? How much do we enjoy playing SV DOU right now? Specifically right now.
I would
Alright,
say I think it's like a 2. It's like a 1 or a 2 for me. It's like you have to use the same Pokemon every game, and it's kind of cringe. And like you have to use Overpowered Wellspring, and it's not very fun.
True. Thank you, Kodal with the peak microphone. Yeah, I think it's like a 4. It's like a 3 or a 4. Probably a 4. It's like fine. How stable or balanced do we think SV DOU is right now? I.e., how often does the better player win?
Not every game. It's not every game. It's it's not every game, and it's not the minority of games.
But actually, I think being super serious, I think the better player wins most of the time in this tier.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, that's true though. Yeah.
The exception was like El Chiavo. Like that guy should be number 1 on ladder, but he's not because he gets hacks.
I agree.
Right. Yeah. He keeps getting crit every game. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Occasionally, you see some really disgusting matchup fishes that like happen in this tier, but if you get matchup fish, usually it's your team.
Dude, my favorite matchup fish is when Fangame wins against like the Terra Ice Grassy Sea Goldango.
True.
That's the best.
Fangame defeats matchup fishing, therefore you can too. Therefore, the better player wins 5 out of 5 times. Okay.
True.
That's not even what the question is asking, but yeah, I think the better player wins 5 out of 5 times. Okay. How do you feel about Chen Pao?
What about him?
I don't really have strong feelings about this Pokemon at all.
I agree.
Like, if I'm being serious, like, it has some, like, it just has its role in the metagame, you know? I think, like, people, like, kind of spammed it a little bit too much for a while. But there was mixed success with that. Like, it had a couple really good tours, but I think like it just has it's a strong offensive mon, but like it can be a little punishing to use. Like it's one of the mons that's easiest to like counter. There are multiple Pokemon that you could bring that like make POW very, very annoying.
POW abusers aren't that high on the docket compared to what POW is doing in the metagame right now. Like it's like running by itself a lot of the time. It's not using any E-Speed Guy or Dragapult that much right now. So, yeah. It's like fine right now.
If you feel strongly about any of your votes, we highly encourage you to post your opinion to the forums. Let's go. Alright. How do you feel about Tornadus?
Maybe when I come back to this. There's a lot to say.
I'll let Chester talk about that. Alright, how do we feel about Landorus Eye? I think Landorus is like one of the best mons in the tier, but like I would prefer this not be suspected. This Pokemon is fine. Like, yeah, I think it's one of the best mons in the tier, but like, I think like, it's a pretty fair offensive mon. It just has a lot of use, but it's not really. If there's anything dumb about it, it's Insure Storm. But like,
yeah,
I don't think they're better. They're worse things.
Also, I think a lot of people maybe mistake like centralizing mons for mons that should be banned.
Yeah.
And Lando's like a centralizing mon, and it's not doing anything insanely broken. You know, it's just like good offense.
Yeah, I agree. Alright, how do you feel about Tatsugiri? Tatsugiri is ban-worthy and should not be suspected.
Absolutely not. We are not. Nope.
I don't even care if like someone runs a tour and it seems fine. Like, it's just not going to be fun.
Yeah. It's literally just going to lower the quality of the tier.
Yeah,
like
I'm at the point with that Pokemon where it's like I don't care. I genuinely don't care about the balancing of it. It's not fun. We're just gonna make things less fun.
I think Tatsugiri not being in the format is literally one of the best things about DOU. Okay. How do you feel about Fluttermane? The one fairy type in the game.
Unban Flutter. I'll say it.
Alright, Kunal. Okay, Kunal.
I'll say it.
We are proud Natix players. We are supposed to understand that Flutter main is very degenerate.
Yeah, but it's fun.
True.
I think the metagame is fun without it, and I think like I would be fine with it being suspected again, but I would not vote to unban it. You know, like
I agree.
I think it like literally just like lowers the quality of the tier. Like
It is very easily the best Pokemon in the metagame if it's ever allowed into the metagame, and it's just like, do we really want the best thing in the metagame to be one of the hardest hitting and fastest Pokemon? It's basically just checking itself and making everything more volatile at that point. Like,
Yeah, I think the important thing about Flutter is, like, there just aren't real fairies in the tier. Right? And so, like, yes, Fluttermane is a broken Pokemon, but Fluttermane not existing makes so many other degenerate strategies just, like, good for no reason. Right? Because, like, it's your next best fairy, you know? Like, no one wants to use Enamorus, no one wants to use Sylveon. So we're using, like, Terra Fairy Blast, or, like, no one wants to use Primarina.
my best fairy is Dazzling Gleam Goldingo.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason that some of the structures like the Chanpao Wellspring stuff is so good, like is as good as it is because we have no fairy types in the tier. And they're just like able to sit on the field forever.
I don't
So
think,
I think there's like
I don't think POW is really connected to that because Flutter and POW have an interesting relationship. I think the stuff that's like a lot worse if like Flutter is legal as like the Tinglu stuff. I already don't even think that stuff is good in the first place.
well, yeah, I think a lot of the POW stuff has to build very differently. Like you can't just build offense, right? You have to build in defensive pieces now. Like genies get a little bit worse.
Mike says
think-
broken but shouldn't be banned.
Well, I think that at least a suspect would be good for Flutter in the current state of the format. I probably wouldn't vote, like in all seriousness, I probably would not vote to unban it. I'd probably vote to keep it banned, but I think at least a suspect would be good.
Yeah, I think like the only two things that I think like are worth suspecting are like Flutter and probably Torn. Like it in both cases, I don't think I would change anything, but like if there's anything, it's those two.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Flutter is I don't want to see the fourth suspect of the generation. That's my only thing that has prevented me from like we spent enough time on this mod. The stuff has been like debated back and forth for like forever. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. I can see it both ways.
I think Natex has provided a form of clarity to me with this Pokemon, because Natex very clearly has plenty of other very strong, very viable fairy types, and Fluttermane still completely dominates that tier. It's still hovering like 50% use rate in some cores. Like,
Yeah,
even if we have other fairy types in the game, it is still running everybody's shit. I don't think it's just an SV thing at that point. I think it's just the Pokemon is too strong, and it's too much of an offensive piece of shit that it should be allowed to be the top Pokemon in any metagame.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think like Flutter has no reason to be allowed in that deck. The only thing, like Flutter is completely broken in that deck. It's broken in SV. The difference is like SV has kind of like Kunal was saying, it doesn't have any fairy types, and so Flutter actually in some kind of way has a little bit of a positive impact. But like I think like the tier is not like bad enough to the point where we need to be thinking about unbanning stuff like this. To be honest, I think the tier is fine. I think like better approach is like, I think if you're going to suspect anything, I would prefer suspecting Torn. I'm just gonna say this. I think like I'm not upset if it's suspected. Like it's fine, but I'm not gonna say it should be suspected. Like I'm not gonna complain if it is, but like you know, I just don't think that's like, I don't think it's a I don't think we need to change the metagame that much. You know, like Flutter coming back would mean a lot of things. I just don't think it's worth it suspecting it again at this point. But I'm not upset about it at all. All right, let's talk about Torn. What are people's thoughts on Torn?
I think
I don't really have
Hades
any
as an
thoughts.
archetype is over-centralizing, and nerf at Liquid Storm is one of the most degenerate moves I've ever seen in my fucking life. It is so disgusting how good this Pokemon is with Landorus offensively and how much other shit it enables. And the only real way to deal with it at the cadence, like offensively, like fast offense, the only other thing that you can do to beat this guy besides setting Trick Room is use it itself. Roaring Moon and Whimsicott get... Yeah, you can run Roaring Moon. It's still going to be a little bit negative tempo because it's not priority to it. And Whimsicott's just completely outclassed offensively. But... Landorus is a really centralizing Pokemon, and it threatens a lot of things, it checks a lot of stuff. And Torn's offensive profile next to it just drastically reduces the amount of actual viable counterplay to Landorus. Like, we're in a metagame where Rillaboom is in discussion to be tier 4 now, tier 3, tier 4, because of this piece of shit. I don't think many people are even saying that Rillaboom's tier 2 right now. And that's absurd. That is absurd. And I mostly blame Tornadus for this, because it just completely ruins Rillaboom's defensive profile, among so many other things. Like, Wellspring is one of the best Pokemon in the metagame because it's one of the only things that can say, I'm gonna Terra, and then I'm gonna wall Landorus and Tornadus. It's like the only thing in the game that actually effectively does that without being like a levitating Seal type. Or something else dumb that only has like 400 base stat total.
Yeah, I know. I think the thing with Torn is just like really, really bad decisions. And giving this one a 100 base power spread flying type move, like, it's just dumb. I think it should be suspected. I mean, like, I don't know what I would vote on it. I think it's like, I think the metagame's like fine as it is. But I think like there's just too much. It just has too much board pressure once it's set Tailwind. Is kind of my issue.
Yeah.
But like, I think the metagame is very playable.
The metagame is playable and uber centralized, like ridiculously centralized around 5 or 6 Pokemon. I
Yeah,
think
I mean-
cutting down one of those might help a little bit, because I don't think there's a huge opportunity cost to cutting Torn, and I think the upside of not having to deal with Leak-Wind pressure and Leak-Wind variance is actually pretty nice for the metagame. Like, random speed drops are never fun to play around. Having to pray that you hit your Bleakwind on an Ogerpon or something to actually win the game is not fun. Actually building against Genies and Builder is very limiting. Aside from, like, the actual top of the metagame. I think it's worth suspecting at the very least.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the dumbest thing is just like, even stuff like just Icy Wind is really dumb on Torn. Like, in the context of the other Pokemon that are good, it just has like too many ways to like mess with stuff. I think Luquin's a high variance move. I don't know. It's like whatever. I'm not super. I don't feel like super strongly about any of these. I think both Flutter and like Torn are like valid to suspect, but I think I'd prefer Torn. And I'm just gonna put that and not Flutter because I would rather see Torn. But I mean, I want to emphasize, I think the metagame is like fine. I think there's a fair amount of stuff. I think I want to see how the talent tier does in DPL. I don't think there's. I think like there's not enough to like really make me feel like voting on banning something right now. I think a suspect before DPL would be fine. I think like a suspect after DPL would be better. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of have mixed spots. I think like Flutter would be a lot more healthy, unironically, if Torn was not in the game. I think they're not entirely connected. I'd rather deal with Flutter if there's no Torn Lando. Because the thing with Flutter is like it pairs a little bit too freely with everything. Especially like Lando I. I think Lando I plus Flutter offensively is just like almost impossible to deal with. Oh yeah, like Mike is saying, like a generation is going to be a year longer, so there is a little bit more room to play around with stuff. It's not like this is totally the end. Like if this was like the last year of the gen, then like I think you could probably just leave it. But I think there's like maybe room for like a little bit more of like a exploration of tiering. But I think it's torn, to be honest. Any other thoughts here? Anything else you think should be suspected and would like to mention? I don't have anything. Do you have anything, Schuster?
I threw Iron Hands on for me.
Troll?
I do not have anything.
LARP? DNC, bro. Mike, you might be a LARPer. Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I think the metagame's in a generally good state. I think any like test should be like, is it going to make the tier better than it is right now, or more competitive? Because I think that tier is generally more competitive than other formats. I like of the formats. We were kind of having this conversation yesterday, I think, or the day before, between me and Kunal. I think like in SV DOU is more competitive than the other SV tiers by a lot. It's more competitive than Natnic, more competitive than DOU. It's more competitive than DLC. Whether or not it's like more competitive than some are also in a good spot. But I think SV is fine. I don't think I would really have any changes. I think banning Arch was really good for this metagame. I think that was broadly a very good progress. That's like the main thing that's different from last time is Archaludon was the last ban. And that really fixed a lot of the problems with this tier. The thing that like I think the reason people like think Diancie is like problematic at all is it does kind of like similar like roles in terms of like the mods. A lot of the mods Diancie counters are like similar to the mods Archaludon countered, but it doesn't do it nearly as effectively. And it doesn't have the same like Archaludon can beat any Pokemon in the game. Diancie is never beating Goldengo. Diancie is very rarely beating Landoi. Especially like the bulky Landoi that we've seen recently. Diancie just really struggles with that. Diancie has far more counterplay than Archaludon did, but I don't think it's problematic. I think like it's a little cringe, but like there's a lot of things in SV that are a little cringe, and I don't think any of them really rise to the level of ban worthy, except maybe Torn. And even Torn is still like probably on the level of just a little bit cringe.
Yeah, I think the tier's great amount of centralization has helped a lot in making sure that the better player usually wins. Because realistically, if you load like Wellspring Iron Hands on a lot of teams, you can balance out most of your matchups pretty immediately, just like that.
Yeah.
Along with a bunch of other of like the big 6 or 7 Pokemon in the metagame. The centralization is annoying in Builder at times. It really is if you're trying to break out or do something new or fun. But I can't deny that the tier is competitive.
Yeah.
I do want to see a Torn suspect. I really, really don't like Leaquin variants, and I think we can actually afford to ban it just based off of the other mons that would be available in the Tailwind role. So maybe loosen things up a little bit. But that's for the community to decide over a suspect.
Yeah. There's like a certain amount of people calling for like a Flutter suspect. That might be what we see. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I'll obviously make a video covering that if there's any tiering action or any suspects or whatever. But not a whole lot to say here. Generally good metagame. It's in a better spot than it was last time. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the tier does in DPL. Because we're going to get a very high volume of games. Derby is just not really comparable at all. And I'm just really curious to see how it does. But yeah, that's kind of where my thoughts at. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.